What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scott and welcome back to FudgeMuppet, the place of all things Elder Scrolls. Now, recently upon my travels through the internet and various Elder Scrolls forums, I came across many voting polls deciding on favourite races in the Elder Scrolls, and one of the things I noticed among all of them is that the poor Redguards come in last almost all of the time. Now, we've already done a video on why Redguards aren't the worst race from a statistical gameplay perspective. I mean, in previous Elder Scrolls games, they were in fact very good warriors, but why is it they never seem to get to take the limelight in people's minds? Now, there are the obvious reasons, such as you can be an elf, a lizard, or a cat, which kind of puts the human races to the back seat for a lot of people, but even out of the human races, they seem to be the least popular. Now, personally, I can relate. They aren't even my favorite race, but upon a deeper look into their lore a few years ago, I found out a whole bunch of reasons as to why they are so underrated. In fact, now I prefer Redguards to Bretons and Imperials, though Nords still take the top human spot for me thanks to a childhood fondness of Vikings, but still, this video is going to explain some of the coolest features of the Redguards for me and why I think they deserve more recognition. So let's start with a better understanding of who they are and where they are from. This is usually the foundational block for the appeal of many races, the orcs being twisted elves, dark elves cursed by Azura, wood elves pledged to a forest god, Bretons the result of interbreeding of elves and men, Khajiit shaped by the moons, etc, etc. So the Redguards before they came to the land of Tamriel were formerly known as the Yakutans, inhabiting the land known as Yakuta, an arid land of deserts and rocky barren hills. It was home to the Yakutans and the left-handed elves. They had an ancient government founded in the Merethic era called No Tutambu, which was a council of kings representing the nations of Yakuta. Legends speak of a 1,000-year war with the left-handed elves, which they eventually won, and of warrior monks called sword singers who could form swords from their very soul. Now, this is one of my favorite things about these ancient Redguards, the sword singers. Sword singing is a magic without magicka, reality-bending powers much like the Dwemer's tonal architecture and the Nordic Thum. It is a greater power. This Yakutan order of warriors followed the way of the sword, a martial philosophy of blade mastery. Strength of body and mind were of the highest sought virtues among the sword singers. They crafted swords tempered with magic, but amongst their ranks, the most powerful and dedicated were the Ansai, which meant saints of the sword in Yoku, the Yakutan language. These powerful individuals could manifest a sword from their very soul, a spirit sword called a Shihai. The Shihai were blades, pale and misty, and appeared as if they were made of light. It was said the only way to disarm a sword singer wielding a Shihai was to sever their head or take their mind. Now, the reason this is significant, besides the fact that spirit swords are the sickest things ever, is that the sword singers had a devastating war with an emperor, and long story short, Yakuta sank into the sea, and the Yakutans fled to Tamriel, landing in the land known as Hammerfell, where they would become the Redguards. Now, at this point, the sword singers were still around, but eventually the art would be forgotten, but the principles of the way of the sword are still practiced and respected amongst the modern Redguards, and it is just a really awesome aspect of the society. And by the way, my low-key hope is for an Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell, where it further explores the Thalmor conflict, but also includes the return of the sword singers. I just think it would be a sick plot. But anyways, you can see how just with the mentioning of this one aspect of Redguard society, you can see how criminally underrated they are. Even without the sword singers, the Redguards are the most naturally talented warriors in all of Tamriel. They have incredible stamina, allowing them to fight on for prolonged periods of time, along with athletic physiques, resistance to poisons, and unique adrenaline functions. They are incredible warriors, and throw in the fact they have curved swords. Curved swords. When they first arrived in Hammerfell, as brutal as it was, they basically just killed the populations of Hammerfell with ease and set up shop, establishing a nation that would stand strong for centuries. But one of the coolest things about the Redguards is that they are not simply just vicious conquerors, but they were incredibly advanced in the ways of seafaring, agriculture, architecture, and astronomy. Amazing buildings that are specifically designed to remain cool in the heat of Hammerfell with insulation and carefully placed ventilation, the ability to grow viable crops in the harshest of climates, navigating seas with the stars, taking them to Tamriel. This unique civilization is all the reason to love the Redguards. They are also renowned horsemen, which makes a lot of sense considering their curved swords, which are perfect for mounted combat. In fact, Hammerfell is famous for a unique breed of horse called Yakuden Chargers. There is so much to love about them and so many potential characters to experience in the Elder Scrolls games. I've played a Redguard pirate who once sailed the seas of Stros Mackay, pillaging and plundering naval ships, 2 scimitars in hand, but certain events led her to a shipwreck in Skyrim, a lost pirate captain trying to find her way in this unfamiliar frozen land. I've played a Redguard who was devout to the way of the sword. He used the art of enchanting like the sword singers of old to fuse his blade with powerful magic. He would go on to discover his dragonborn powers and utilize the Thum with a reverence that the Ansai would treat with their spirit swords, becoming a warrior monk of discipline and honor. I've also played an Alakir Strider, taking to horseback to slaughter bandits and monsters alike, any who would prey on the citizens of Skyrim and dishonor the gods. And by the way, that's another awesome thing about the Redguards, they're gods. While most of the gods of elves and men are very similar and simply different interpretations of the same entity, the Redguards seem to have entirely different gods, or at least that seems to be the case. There can be cases made about certain Redguard gods and their potential Tamrielic counterparts, but they stand out as the most separated and distinct. If you ever play a Redguard character, you should really look into the religion of Yakuta to help you with your role-playing. It really is cool. And at the end of the day, Redguards are an amalgamation of Middle Eastern and African cultures meshed into one unique package, which is really cool, and that makes them stand out against the other humans which are based on European cultures. So they do have a different aesthetic and feel to them. I could probably go on for ages about the minute details and cool experiences I've had playing Redguards, but I just wanted to make this video to share the Redguard joy and get more people to try them out and get into their lore. Maybe there might be an Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell, and that would help heaps of people to get exposed to the hidden awesomeness of the Redguards. But until that fateful day that may never come, we can just fantasize about it with lore discussions and the usual Elder Scrolls shenanigans. My name is Scott from FudgeMuppet. Subscribe if you like what you hear/see on the channel. Like the video if you have a soft spot for the Redguards. Let me know in the comments below if you would want to see an Elder Scrolls 6 Hammerfell, or just talk about some cool Redguard characters that you've played. Social media links are in the description. Particularly check out Twitter, where we are the most responsive. Have a good day, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.